Kick it in. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Just waiting to get all cameras set up. If you're just joining us, welcome. Glad you could be here. If you've been here before, you know it takes a few seconds to get everything up and running here. So, glad you're here. Got a great show again today, as always. Ready to go, John? We're good? Oh, everybody's good? Everybody rocking? Good. Okay. So, welcome. I am, aforementioned, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're new to the show, welcome. Glad you could be here. Hopefully, the next hour is going to blow your mind and change your life, because that's what we want to do. I like that phrase. We should write that down. Blow your mind and change your life. That's what we want to do, because every time I do a show, I've been doing this now for over 40 years, doing lecturing and I've been radio, television. My goal is always to bring you new information. And one of the reasons, I'll be honest with you, is I want to learn the new information. I know a lot of this stuff, but every time I do a show prep, I learn something new. So it's going to be exciting. So today we're going to be talking about brain function, which is one of my favorite topics, and processed foods, the standard American diet, and what it's doing to the brain. So I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. Whatever platform you're on, please write down any questions and send them to us on that platform. At the 24-minute break, I will answer the questions. Then we do another 24 minutes, and I'll answer the questions again. So it's a very fast hour. Believe me, this moves fast. But any questions you have, please write them down. If you're listening live, please put in hashtag live on your platform. If you're listening on a replay, put in hashtag replay. And right now it's 1:01 on August 5th, 2024. So if you're not with us live, please put in hashtag replay. And also tell me where you're from. I always like to know where folks are from. It's kind of exciting for me. I just think it's cool. So that's how we do it. So this is a great chance to get your questions answered. So write them in anytime. Start now, and John will read them to me at the 24-minute break. We ready to rock, John? All right, John, give me a thumbs up. So we are ready to go. Here we go. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad you're with me today. We're going to talk today about brain function, which is absolutely one of my favorite topics in the world, because the brain controls everything, and we don't give the brain enough love. And we're going to talk about how the standard American diet, what most people are eating, what it's doing to the brain. Now, I have a little warm spot in my heart for seniors. And I've worked with senior housing in the past. In fact, I have a whole protocol put together for senior housing. If you work in a senior housing business, let me know. I'd like to talk to you about this protocol I have. Because so many times people end up in senior housing, and then they end up in something called memory care. Now, memory care is when the brain starts to decline. You lose cognitive function. Alzheimer's is part of that. And when that happens, it's a very sad time in people's lives. So we're going to talk about what the standard American diet has to do with memory decline. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with you going into the room and forgetting why you were there. It happens with you not recognizing a friend, not being able to recall a name, not being able to recall something simple like how to drive a car. And it could happen and come and go initially, and you think, it's nothing to worry about. And then it becomes worse and worse as time goes on. And you have to start working on it now. Because the damage, many times when you see the symptoms, some of the damage is already done. Some of it's reversible, some isn't. But research presented at the Alzheimer's Association International Convention demonstrated that eating something simple, breakfast cereal, frozen foods, and soda, can lead to cognitive decline and an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. How many of you eat breakfast cereal? How many of you drink soda? How many of you eat like frozen packaged foods? So the answer is now very clear. Your diet has a direct impact on your brain. They were encouraged that the data confirm past information demonstrating nutrition as a significant impact on health. Now, I remember years ago, because I've been in practice 40 years, that some doctor said one time in an interview, I remember, if you take supplements, all you have is expensive urine. They do absolutely nothing, and don't worry, it's stupid to take them. And I remember studying for several years. I was still a young pup at the time, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, has everything I learned been wrong? Well, no, that person was wrong. You need to have nutrients for the brain to function. Ultra-processed foods, we talked about them the other day. Ultra-processed foods are industrial formulations with 5 or more ingredients, including sugars, fats, salts, stabilizers, and preservatives. So these are the definitions of ultra-processed foods. These are ingredients only found in ultra-processed foods and not commonly used in culinary preparation. So this is, if you go to a restaurant, you're not going to have additives and dyes if you make it at home. That's what's making it an ultra-processed food. Another definition was it comes in a wrapper. You know, an apple wouldn't come in a wrapper, but the ultra-processed food would. So the purpose, why do we even have ultra-processed foods? Nobody's ever questioned me on that. I've been talking about ultra-processed foods for years now. Nobody ever says, why do we even make them? Their goal is to imitate sensory qualities in the ingredients that enhance flavors or disguise undesirable taste in the final product. We want to make it so it tastes better or it doesn't taste worse. That's why we have ultra-processed foods. And we use so many chemicals now. I remember when I was young, I even read labels back then. I guess it was, telling the future there. And it didn't have as many ingredients. Now we have preservatives, additives, dyes, chemicals. We know that certain dyes can affect the brain and can affect ADD and focus. And so there's so many things in our food today that we didn't have even 20 years ago. Genetically modified food, glyphosate, weed killer that we spray on foods now, that didn't exist. The word organic, when it came to food, didn't exist when I was young. Now we have to label the good stuff. We don't label the bad stuff. Isn't that wild? So there's been multiple studies now that demonstrate the amount of ultra-processed food consumed in the U.S. is high. One study about a couple of years ago found that about 57.9% of calories that we consume is ultra-processed food. So let's round up to 60%. So there's another study that found about 59%. So about 60% of our calories in the average American diet comes from ultra-processed foods. Now, there's a positive association between ultra-processed foods and not just dementia, but what we call all-cause mortality. What does that mean? That means everything that can kill you. So the more ultra-processed foods you have, the higher the level of all-cause mortality. Now, a lot of scientific evidence that ultra-processed foods increase your risk of disease and death. Organizations like the American Heart Association start promoting something called a plant-based diet, including convenient meatless foods you like, such as veggie burgers and vegetarian microwavable meals for a quick meatless lunch. Sounds good on the surface, doesn't it? If you know me, I don't eat animal products. And I haven't done that for almost 3 decades now. Well, more than that, almost 4 decades now. And so when I saw it, when it came out, and I said, American Heart Association is now saying, cut out your animal products and go toward more plant-based. I liked it. However, if you look at a lot of these processed microwavable meals, burgers, even if they're vegan, it's the definition of ultra-processed foods. Now, according to One Veggie Burger, their ingredients are derived from plants. Sounds like good marketing. I like it. They're not plants. They're just derived from plants. The same way that soy protein concentrates, seed oils, and corn chips, well, they're derived from plants too. Now, we're going to talk about seed oils a lot. Seed oils are your vegetable oils, your corn oils, your canola oils, your soybean oils, cottonseed oil. I don't know who decided to eat cottonseed oil, but cottonseed oil. These vegetable oils, many times they're just, general lumped as vegetable oil, peanut oil. These are very high in something called omega-6 fatty acids. Again, I'm going to circle around back to that in a little later, but I want you to hear this many, many, many times so it becomes stuck in your brain. I want you to stay away from vegetable oils. The only oils you should have in your life, the less oil the better, because it still is processed. It's not ultra-processed, but it's processed, will be extra virgin organic olive oil, extra virgin organic coconut oil, and then if you want to venture out, you can do pecan oil, avocado oil. Most people don't use them. But oils are so dangerous. Most oils are so dangerous. And the omega-6 fatty acids are worse than sugar. Now, you've heard me talk about sugar. You've heard every doctor in the world talk about sugar. Sugar's bad. Don't eat sugar. Stay away from sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Vegetable oils are worse. And I'm going to almost promise you that you're eating them every single day. So please, stay away from them. So the data that we're going to talk about brain function. The data showed that there's a correlation between individuals' high consumption of ultra-processed food and a decline in memory and what was called executive function. These are higher thought levels. Can I do math? Can I do a Sudoku? How about a crossword puzzle? Can I carry on a conversation about politics? Can I remember when I was a kid? This is when the brain starts to fail. The memories are still there. The brain still has it. It's just not working. And then over time, the brain cells can die. Now, when I was young, I was a little puppy in school, I was taught that once a brain cell dies, it dies forever. Kind of true. But it turns out your brain can regenerate cells. We were taught originally the brain can't regenerate cells. Now it turns out it can. It can regenerate cells and also has something called plasticity. Plasticity is like plastic. It can remold itself. So if you have damage to a certain part of the brain, it can, simply put, rewire itself around the damaged area. And I remember when I was in school learning about stroke victims. Somebody had a stroke. They were paralyzed on their right side, let's say. That means there was damage to the left side of the brain. Left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. Right side of the brain controls the left. So there was damage to the brain, and they had stroke victims. And we can do rehab on them. We can do chiropractic care, physical therapy with them, nutrition, exercises. And many times they'd regain some or all of their function that they lost. And I kept thinking, wait a minute. I was told brain cells are dead forever. Well, they are. We weren't taught, we didn't know, that the brain can regenerate itself in many cases and rewire itself. Now, not always 100%, but that's cool. How does the brain have the capability to do that? How does the brain have the capability to start functioning again? Proper nutrition, proper blood flow, and stimulation. The brain needs three things to function: oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. So breathing. Many times as we get older, we slouch over. We're not getting full breath into our lungs. We're not exercising like we used to. We're not practicing those deep breaths, so we don't get enough oxygen. Stimulation. When you're young, you may have a family, you may have kids, you may have a job, a lot of stimulation going on. I don't ever want to retire. And one of the reasons is I don't want to lose that stimulation that goes into my brain. Even though sometimes it's aggravating, it's still stimulation. And the brain needs that to function normally. And then it needs nutrition. And if you're eating the standard American diet, SAD, the SAD diet, standard American diet, you're probably depriving your brain, well, I can't say probably, you're definitely depriving your brain of the nutrients that it needs to function at its highest level. You may survive, but you're not going to thrive. And that's what I want to do. I want to get you to thrive as you go through life. If, let's say, we use 50, 60% of your dairy caloric intake as processed foods. This study that was done, International Conference on Brain Function, is out of San Diego. They're calling high consumption of ultra-processed foods more than 20%. We're doing around 60%. They're saying more than 20% is dangerous. That could mean something as small as 400 calories a day for women, 500 for men, of ultra-processed foods can actually affect brain function. How many of you right now, think about it, are eating 20%, 1/5 of your diet is ultra-processed food? Packaged foods, processed foods, frozen foods. Frozen peas, not a big problem. Frozen lasagna, probably a problem. And I'm Italian. I hate to talk bad about lasagna. But frozen foods are the downfall of brain function in this country and other countries. Now, if you go to a place like Brazil, they have a very low consumption of processed foods. You go to England, you go to lots of parts of Europe, you go to the United States, Canada, lots of processed foods. They're cheap. They taste good. Again, why do we have ultra-processed foods? If you're just joining us, ultra-processed foods are to be high palliative. You want to get a lot of stimulation when you eat them. You want to get excited when you eat them. That's why you have these flavored potato chips. I've eaten them. I love them. They taste great. But omega-6 fatty acids, acrylamides, which occur when things fry, ultra-processed chemicals, monosodium glutamate, dyes, additives, these are all the things that are just eating away at our brains. And it breaks my heart when I go to the grocery store. I was in the store the other day. There's a woman in front of me, and she had a little motor scooter, the shopping motor scooters. And let's just say she was a very well-fed woman. And I looked in her basket, and everything in her basket was ultra-processed. And I'm going to bet this woman was probably in her 40s. And it broke my heart. Because we get one shot at this life, folks. This ain't dress rehearsal. We get one shot at this. And I'm watching what this woman is putting in her cart. It was cheap. It was highly flavorful. I looked at the foods. I know they would taste good. And here she is in a scooter. There is no hope for her ever getting well. Ever, if she continues down that path. I have a friend of mine. He has prostate cancer, and he has gout. And he was complaining to me that he has trouble walking. And these doctors, these prostate doctors, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to this doctor, that doctor. I'm getting confusing messages. and he's very overweight. And I said, oh, he likes eating chicken sandwiches and diet soda, at least once a day, sometimes more. And I said, wow, man, look what you're doing to yourself. I don't judge, but I say, if you continue on this path, what are the odds of ever getting well? Well, the answer is 0. You can't get well unless you're proactive, and a lot of it has to do with what's on the end of your fork. So you have to put the right foods in your body. And you've heard me talk a while ago about, so I've been talking about supplements again for 4 decades. Supplements used to be, when I was early on in my career, you should take them because they were good. They would supplement a good diet. I don't think supplements are a luxury anymore. I think supplements are a necessity. The stress we're under. I don't go out like I used to. I used to garden a lot more. I used to go out with my friends a lot more. I sit home more than I should. I go from my house into my attached garage, into my car, to the office, walk 40 feet into the office. I'm in the office, and I reverse the process on the way out. So we're really not doing good things for ourselves every day. And if you think you're going to get better, chances are you're not unless you're proactive. So the minimum supplements, let me get into that portion now. We got a lot more to talk about. The minimum supplements I would recommend would be Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Just as a general across the board, let's start here. Super Greens has chlorella and spirulina. Chlorella helps detoxify the body, has omega-3 fatty acids in it. It has iodine, which most of us are deficient in iodine. Where do you get iodine from? It's a question. Where do you think you're getting iodine from in your diet? Really, the main source for most Americans is iodized salt. You shouldn't be eating table salt anyway. Celtic salt, air-dried sea salt, that's okay. Doesn't have iodine in it, or very little. Table salt, we add iodine to it. It's not a good source of iodine. And you need iodine pretty much for every cell in the body, as far as we know, especially the thyroid. And that helps metabolism, brain function, energy levels, hormone production. So, yeah, Super Greens and Essential Source. They're two powders. I take a scoop of each. I shake it up with water, coconut milk, almond milk. I drink it first thing in the morning every day. If you're not doing at least that, you need to. Now, there's 2 types of Super Greens, plain and mint. I like the mint better. It's sweeter. I recommend you start with the mint because the other one is it has more earthy flavor. Some people love it. I don't. I don't not like it. I just like the mint better. So that they're all on the website, drjoe.com. Or you can come by and pick them up. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, and I'd love to be your doctor. Wouldn't it be cool if we can check your nervous system, your digestive system, your diet, do a nutrition workup, try to get to the cause of your healthcare problem and not just treat the symptoms? If we could do that, in most cases, your life changes for the better. And the biggest complaint I get, by far, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer with whatever the condition is for so long? And my answer is, I don't know. So if you want to make an appointment, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, joint degeneration, we have things like acoustic wave therapy to break up scar tissue and help regenerate joints. It's not going to make it like it was 16 again, but joint regeneration. If you were told you needed, you're on the path to getting a joint replacement, come see us. Let's see what we can do. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, car accidents, sports injuries. Make an appointment. Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Make an appointment. We can do virtual or we can do in person. Normally, the first visit is $940. We've reduced that to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I don't know anybody doing all that at any price, certainly not at $299. And the reason we do it is we want to find out what direction is going to be the best course of treatment for your health care. Is it chiropractic? Is it orthopedics? Is it neurology? Is it nutrition? Is it acupuncture? I don't know. Let's find out. And then we can give you our suggestions and you can decide what direction to go in from there. But without a guide, you're not going to get there. Everybody has a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. Wayne Gretzky had a coach. Even the greats have coaches. I have coaches. I want to be your health coach. drjoe.com. Just book an appointment right now. We'll tell you about your insurance. We accept most insurances. And if you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. Don't go to one of these scam doctors and lawyers that call you up. Oh, come see us. So many scammers in healthcare. I don't want you to fall for that. Just make an appointment. drjoe.com. So what we're talking about today is how the standard American diet is affecting our brains and our futures. It is not cheap to go into senior housing. If you go into a low-end one, you're talking $4,000 or $5,000 a month. If you want to go to one that actually treats you fairly decently, you're probably looking at $10,000, $15,000 a month out of pocket. Can you afford to get sick? Most people can't. And I don't want to waste all my money as I'm getting older, spending it on senior housing somewhere. And then what happens if I run out of money? My mother was in rehab after she had a knee injury. She had a knee replacement, actually. And as soon as Medicare stopped paying, she called me one day. It was a Thursday. I'll never forget it. She called me up and said, come get me. And she's in New Jersey at the time. And I said, what do you mean, come get you? She goes, Medicare stopped paying. They're kicking me out in 2 days. And I have nowhere to go. She had a house, but she couldn't be by herself anymore. Medicare's kicking me out. Now, luckily, she had family, and another family member took her in. I was more than happy to take her in. And she was taken care of until the end of her life. What if she couldn't do that? Where would she have ended up? I don't know. I don't have that answer. But think about your future. Think about your children and your family who's going to have to take care of you if nothing else. I don't care what motivates you. I don't care how you get here, just get here. That was a song by Alita Adams about 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I don't care how you get here, just get here. Start taking care of your health. Start eating the right food. Start taking the right supplements if necessary. Check the nervous system. See if you have pinched nerves. Realign the joints. Fix your digestive system. Probably you're suffering needlessly. There's an amazing synergy between food and dietary patterns and how the body heals, how the body works. Years ago, we were taught that you cannot reverse heart disease. Once you had it, you were done. And that's not the case. Okay? Several doctors came out, medical researchers, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, other doctors, and they did the research, and they showed that in many cases, not all, but many cases, heart disease was certainly manageable and in many cases reversible. Now we're finding the same thing with brain function. We always thought once the brain was gone, it was gone. Well, not necessarily. There are certain things we can do. Parkinson's patients, that's another brain issue. You have a problem with dopamine. You don't have enough dopamine to suppress the brain, and then you start having these tremors. And with Parkinson's patients, it's not really a memory in most cases. It's just you can't control your body. And many times they can give you drugs like L-Dopa, and that might work. But they found out through research that something called fava beans and velvet beans work as well or better than medications in many cases to increase the dopamine levels in the brain. How come you've never heard that before? How about you just ate fava beans or velvet beans every day and see if that helps? Is it going to solve it? I have no idea. Is it worth trying? Absolutely. So when it comes to nutrition, I've researched every day for 40 years, and I learn new things every day. And I want to keep my brain sharp. People joke with me all the time. What's your secret? What do you do? I go to a lot of concerts, and I'll post my concerts on social media, and I'll say, oh, so rock and roll is your secret. That's what somebody said the other day. Rock and roll is your secret to staying young and being smart. And I said, maybe. It doesn't hurt because, again, it's neurological input. The brain needs that excitement. And I go to old rock concerts, and I remember when Foreigner songs came out. I remember seeing Dee Snider and Twisted Sister in a bar in New Jersey. I mean, these are things that actually do stimulate the brain. Yeah, it's kind of fun to go walk down memory lane, but it's also good for the brain to stimulate the brain. Again, brain needs oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. Now, I talked about frozen foods being bad for you. Now, you can make your own frozen foods. That's fine. I'm not saying the freezing of the food is bad. It's the processed of the foods. In fact, there was a doctor, Dr. Chris Van Tulken, worked with BBC, and he did a study on himself. So for 1 month, 42-year-old increases daily intake from 30% of ultra-processed foods to 80%, which is kind of around where the United Kingdom was for 80%. And what he found after just 1 month, poor sleep, heartburn, anxiety, sluggishness, low libido, unhappy feelings, hemorrhoids, and a weight gain of 15 pounds. 1 month. He started eating what basically we'd call a standard American diet. Does that sound like you? Any of those symptoms? Poor sleep, heartburn, anxiety, sluggishness, low libido, unhappy feelings, hemorrhoids, weight gain? If it sounds like you did exactly what the doctor did. And then they did brain scans on him. He used himself as a guinea pig. And they did brain scans, and what they showed that the diet that he had done created new links, new neurological links in the brain in areas responsible for the rewards and the areas that drive automatic and repetitive behavior. Automatic and repetitive behavior that's not good for you is called what? It's called an addiction. The same part of the brain that lit up on people that were addicts lit up in his brain after 1 month of just increasing his processed food intake. And that's why it's so hard to stop eating it, because you're getting high from it. I know. My brain works just like yours. Almost out of time for this segment, folks. If you have any health questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Send me questions. I'm happy to answer them. Either I'll probably answer them personally. If not, my staff will. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, which you should, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, the Atlanta area. Just go to drjoe.com. You can also set up a virtual appointment at drjoe.com as well. All the supplements we talked about, Super Greens, Essential Source, we're going to talk about nitric oxide, vitamin D, glutathione, hormone balancers. They're all on the website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Everybody, Christy approves. Christy approves. We can continue. If she didn't approve, we're done. So, John, Christy approves, so that means I can answer questions. What do you got?
I've always thought that oatmeal was an excellent breakfast food, primarily because of its positive effects on cholesterol. However, today many experts advise not against eating its oatmeal at all. What are your thoughts?
I agree with the experts because I'm one of them. If you're going to eat oatmeal, you want to do steel cut. Steel cut oats, the fiber is intact, and as it travels through your colon, it wraps around cholesterol and carries out excess cholesterol, cleans out your colon, and it also blocks up receptor sites so you don't absorb as much sugar. When we start taking steel cut and steaming it and rolling it out, rolled oats, it's a higher sugar content. You lose a lot of the fiber benefit. And then if you do instant oats, that stuff is like eating pure sugar. So if you're going to eat oats, groats, which is the whole oat, or steel cut is the ones I'd recommend. And they have to be organic. And the reason is they spray many times, whoever they are, spray glyphosate, weed killer, on the oats. And then you're eating the weed killer. And that stuff is totally destroying the microbiome, the bacteria in our colon. So organic steel cut oats has my blessing. Anything else doesn't. What else?
I've heard that nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels. Does it also increase the elasticity of blood vessels?
Yes. It exercises them. It stretches them and contracts them and stretches them. So yes. Now, you also want to make sure you're getting something called bioflavonoids that strengthen the blood vessel walls. I had somebody call my radio show last night, as a matter of fact. And he was talking about that. He had 3 stents put in, and nobody told him what to do. You had your stents, you're fine, go home. And now one of his other blood vessels is starting to swell and become weak. And he says, nobody ever talked to me about that. And I said, yeah. You know, you have your gallbladder removed. You need to take a supplement for that. You need to take something called Cholacol or ox bile if you have your gallbladder removed. I don't like animal products, but ox bile is the best thing you can take if you have your gallbladder removed. And nobody talks about that if you had your gallbladder removed. So if you have it, send me an email through the website. I'll send you the link to the product I recommend. It's not my product either, but I'll send you the link I recommend. Same thing with stents. 2, 3, 4 stents put in, bypasses, and they never told him what to do to prevent another one. So you got to do bioflavonoids. Bioflavonoids strengthen the blood vessel walls as well, and you get that from things like fruits and vegetables. Dr. Joe's Essential Source, loaded with bioflavonoids. So you want to keep those blood vessels as strong as you possibly can. And that's why I'd recommend things like Super Greens, Essential Source, nitric oxide to exercise the blood vessels. If you have low blood pressure, don't take nitric oxide. It can lower the blood pressure too much. Other than that, yes, I love my nitric oxide. I take it every day. In fact, I took some right before the show. And I'll give you guys a little tip, a little secret, a little insight. I've created a new supplement. It's going to come out pretty soon. Josh and Christy and John are testing it and seeing which ones they like. We have different versions of it. And it's going to be a ginseng. This is just the white label of it. It's going to be a ginseng with nitric oxide for energy and circulation. And I invented this. It's sweetened with stevia, so it has no sugar in it. And it'll be out on the market pretty soon. And when it does, I have a feeling it's going to be very, very popular because I like it. What else you got, John? You guys are the first ones to ever know that, by the way. I've never told anyone that except for my people and my staff. So.
I've heard that the body absorbs water more quickly through eating certain fruits than actually drinking water directly. Is that true?
Yes. Because it has certain nutrients with it, like sugars, for example, fructoses. But this is with fruit, it's okay. It can be absorbed, it's sucked into the body. It's kind of like these sports drinks. Many times they'll add a sugar molecule to it, and then I'll add the supplements. Usually they're inorganic supplements. I'm not a fan. And it gets sucked into the body quicker. And they say, look at how much higher your vitamin C levels went, or your B vitamins went after drinking our sports drink. Well, that's because the sugar carried it in. Fruit is different. It has other vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that work symbiotically as opposed to just plain old sugar. So the answer is yes. Now, I'll tell you guys a story. Years ago, there was a woman who was pregnant, and she was extremely sick and nauseous and throwing up like crazy, and I thought she was going to die. Morning sickness was just off the chart, and she couldn't even put an ice cube, a chip in her mouth. She'd throw up. And I was afraid. I thought she was going to die. So I suggested, let's get her into a bathtub, because water can be absorbed through your skin as well. And they got her into a bathtub, and within minutes, it looked like a flower blooming. She came back around again. So just being in water can be good for you, but don't use like a pool with chlorine in it, because chlorine can be absorbed too, and chlorine acts like an antibiotic and kills off the bacteria in your colon. But a saltwater pool, a bathtub. I have a whole house water filter. You should too, by the way. They're not cheap. It's usually $3,000, $4,000, but well worth it. And I love my water filter. I can drink the water. I can bathe and shower in the water. It has no taste. People have come to my house and said, your water tastes different. I said, no, it tastes like nothing. And they go, that's it? I've never had pure water before. So anyway, if you want that link, just send me something through the website. I'll send you the link of the company I use. So it's but website is drjoe.com if you want to send me any questions. What else you got, John? Did I answer that question? I think I did. Okay, good.
Should I add ginger to my diet?
Yes. Why not? It's great. Yeah, ginger is anti-inflammatory. It's an aphrodisiac too, so be careful. What I do in the winter is I get organic ginger, I peel it, and I put it in a food processor, and I cover it about 1/3 with lemon juice, and I puree the heck out of it because ginger can be very stringy. And I puree it, and I pour it in ice cube trays, and then I have these lemon ginger ice cubes. And in the winter, I have ginger tea almost every morning. It wakes you up. It gives you lots of energy. It's great anti-inflammatory. So then you can make your own ginger. You can take ginger supplements if you want to, but you know, I like cooking. So, but yeah, ginger's great.
That is all.
All right, you guys are awesome. Ready for part 2? Make sure I knew where I was. Okay, we're there. Okay, ready. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you stayed with us, I'm glad you did, because hopefully you're learning a lot of things, because that's my job. My producer at the radio station where I work, he's been with me now about 14 years, and I always joke, and I say every time I do a show, I want a mod to walk away learning something new, because he's heard all my shows. And he always says it. He goes, I'll ask him, what did you learn new today? He goes, I learned this, and this. So there's always new information to learn. So follow me on social media. It's Dr. Joe Esposito. Just search Dr. Joe Esposito. You'll see my pretty face there. And follow me, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're between 500,000 and 1 million followers across all platforms. And I will post new health tips every single day. Why wouldn't you follow me? It's absolutely free. If you don't like it, unfollow me. No one unfollows us because they don't like it. So Dr. Joe Esposito, just look me up. And yeah, you want to join it. And Facebook and YouTube, we have short versions, long versions. So most social media is 1-minute clips, but YouTube, you have the longer versions as well. So just make sure you follow me. It's absolutely free. If you really want to be in the know, you want to sign up for our newsletter. It's on the website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. We never give out your email address. If you unsubscribe, well, you'll never hear from us again. We just want you to get the information. And that's the cool place to be, because you'll hear about pop-up lectures, pop-up shows that I'm doing. Sometimes we give away things. We've given away concert tickets in the past. So, yeah, you definitely want to sign up for the newsletter. It's a lot of fun. And again, you don't like it, unsubscribe. It's just that simple. I can't say I don't have a dog in the fight. I do have a dog in the fight because I want to get you well. But I just want to get you that information. So social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. Make sure you follow me. That's your homework assignment. So what we're talking about today is how the standard American diet is affecting our brain function, and as we get older, what it's doing to us. And earlier we talked about, there was a Dr. Tullikin, and he did an experiment, and he increased his diet to 80% ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are foods that have chemicals and additives in them that you wouldn't find in a normal meal that you'd make at home. And they usually have 5 or more ingredients. That's kind of the definition. And he went to 80% of his diet in 1 month. A lot of things went wrong. Poor sleep, heartburn, anxiety, sluggishness, low sex drive, unhappy feelings, hemorrhoids. He gained 15 pounds. And when he did a study on his own brain, he found that the part of the brain that was getting new connections, that was rewiring itself, is the same part of the brain that we see in classic addictive substances like alcohol and tobacco. People that are addicted to certain things, that part of the brain, we say it metaphorically lit up. So he actually created an addict in his own brain. He made himself an addict. And I understand how hard it is to stop eating these foods. I haven't had an animal product in 30 years, 38 years, 39 years. I lied to you, 39 years. I'm not saying I don't miss meatball sandwiches. I do. However, I know what it does to my brain. So I have to decide what's more important. And I always want you to think that when you're eating something. Is it worth it? Ask yourself that question. Is it worth it? And if it is, eat it. And I want you to worry about 80 or 90% of your diet. The other 10%, 20%, I'll cut you some slack on. Worry about 80% of what you're eating. And if you do that, you're going to rewire the brain in a different way and help break a lot of those addictions. I have a real good show on my website, drjoe.com. Just type addiction in the search bar. And I did a show about the neurophysiology of what an addiction is. And you can listen to that and learn what happens physically to your brain when you become an addict. And then you have to unravel that, rewire it to get over the addiction. You can't just have willpower when it comes to addiction. I don't know of anybody who does heroin or cocaine or speed that says, oh, this is good for me. They know it's bad. I don't know anyone who's overweight that says, I know this is good for me. I don't know anybody who drinks alcohol on a regular basis that says, oh, I need this, it's good for me, because the brain is rewired. And as the damage sets in, as time goes on, you do see things like dementia setting in. And we're seeing, if I don't know where you are, but where I am, I drive past, I think, 3 senior housing facilities on my way to work. It takes me about 11 minutes to get to work. That's 3 of them. And one of them just built this huge memory center. Monstrous. If there wasn't a demand for it, we wouldn't be seeing all these memory centers being built. Memory care. Because we're seeing more and more people have more and more cognitive decline as they get older, and we don't know what to do with them. So we stick them in this home, we visit them on Christmas and Easter, and eventually they leave us. I don't want to leave like that, guys. I want to be around for a long, long time. And I'm frightened. I'm frightened for your children, as the line from the Moody Blues song says. And I'm frightened for your children because I don't know if you see it, and I'll make a political statement here, not Republican or Democrat, just a political awareness, that I don't see customer service anywhere anymore. Not even good. I don't even see it at all, much less good or bad. There is none. I see more and more people, more and more business closing because nobody wants to work, because people don't show up for work. You show up for work, you get points now. I remember if I was late for work, I would get fired. Now you just show up, you get points. So I'm scared because the upcoming generation is going to take care of me and my generation. They can't take care of themselves. And I believe a lot of that has to do with the ultra-processed foods that they've put into their bodies from a young age. Let's have candy. Let's have ice cream. It's always available. Let's have ultra-processed foods. Always available. When I was young, it didn't exist. So it wasn't available. We might have ice cream here or there, but it didn't have all the chemicals and additives and preservatives in it either. The cows weren't fed soy and corn. They were fed grass. Higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, lower levels of omega-6. Now it's the exact opposite. Those omega-6 fatty acids are just killing us. And many studies show if you eat an ultra-processed diet, it increases your risk of obesity, and that increases your risk of premature death, change in cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart disease, gallbladder disease. Quality of life, of course, goes down. Sleep apnea, mental illness, osteoarthritis, many types of cancer, pain. I am the only chiropractor in the state of Georgia who's board certified in pain management and orthopedics and chiropractic and double board certified in nutrition. And I'm certified in traumatic brain injuries. And I have 23 other certifications, actually. So I like learning. And I know when people come in for pain, every patient that comes in our offices, we do nutrition workup on them. And we say, listen, this is what I recommend you do. Whether you do it or not is totally up to you. But I'm going to tell you one time, this is what I think you should do to help reduce the pain. And we know that omega-6 fatty acids cause inflammation, which causes pain. So when I see people in a hospital after back surgery, after neck surgery, in pain, fibromyalgia, and they're feeding them processed foods, packaged foods, chocolate milk, wheat, dairy products, cheeses, processed cheeses. We know that these foods cause inflammation. And it scares me that we're serving people that need our help the most the worst food they can be eating. And I'm not expecting you to do everything all at once. I get that. At least make little tiny changes. Drink another glass of water. Take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Essential Source every day. Take Dr. Joe's B Complex because B vitamins are necessary for you to convert your food into usable forms and energy. And if you don't have enough B vitamins, you can't methylate or convert your food, and it's not going to work. Dr. Joe's B Complex is in a form that's usable by everyone. If you buy the cheap version, like my grandfather said, always buy the best. It's always cheaper. And when I say cheap, it's a couple of pennies less. It's not worth it. Get the best. Nitric oxide. I take nitric oxide every day. Opens up my blood vessels, increases circulation to my brain, my heart, my lungs. We have an erectile dysfunction protocol that we use for men, and one of the things we recommend for them if they have normal blood pressure is Dr. Joe's nitric oxide. And many men, just taking nitric oxide solves the problem. I've had many men and women send me emails saying thank you. For years, we took little blue pills, and we did this, and we did that. We did injections, and nothing was working. We started taking nitric oxide, and we saw that there was hope on the horizon. It increases circulation. I have many, many people with high blood pressure taking nitric oxide supplements, opens up the blood vessel, blood pressure drops. I tell people, if you're going to take a nitric oxide supplement, monitor your blood pressure. I don't want it going too low because the blood pressure medication and the nitric oxide combined can make the blood pressure too low. Wouldn't that be an ironic twist? And then you have to go back to your doctor. I cannot tell you to stop taking medication. You go back to your doctor and say, Doc, I'm doing this. This is my blood pressure. Can you reduce my medication? And it's up to them. Not you, not me, them. So never change medications without checking with your doctor. So I want to talk about seed oils. We talked about those earlier, and I promised I was going to cover it. Studies show that despite eating enough calories, participants experienced decline in mental cognitive function. So they said, why? The key factor in this study was the consumption of ultra-processed foods. Used to call it junk food. A major component of the production of junk food is vegetable oils and vegetable and seed oils that are high in omega-6 linoleic acid. Now, omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids. That means you have to get them from an outside source. You can't make them internally. You have to get them from an outside source in small amounts. Most people, the ideal ratio is 1 omega-3 to 1 omega-6. Many people have 15, 20, 25 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. The body cannot function like that. And the body uses those oils for many things. One of the things the body uses the oils for is creating the wall around your cell called the lipoprotein layer. Your cells have a wall called lipoprotein layer, and it's the guardhouse. It lets nutrients in, it allows waste products out, protects the cell so viruses, germs, bacteria hopefully can't get in. And if you have cheap oils, you build a wall with cheap ingredients, it's not going to absorb nutrients and pass out waste products at its ideal level. It's kind of like the Three Little Pigs, right? How do you want to build a house? With straw, or you want to build it with brick? So the omega-3 fatty acids would be the brick. The omega-6 fatty acids would be the straw. Okay? And it's not as strong and not as healthy. And then it's going to affect what's called the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the part of the cell that generates electricity. And if the mitochondria has weak cell membrane around it, it's not going to be able to protect itself and generate the right amounts of electricity. Now, historically, Americans consume greater amounts of vegetable and seed oils that are high in what we call the LAs, or linoleic acids. And there's an increased concentration in the subcutaneous fat. That's the fat underneath your skin. And that correlates to an increased prevalence of asthma, diabetes, heart disease. These are big issues. If you have a beer belly, remember beer bellies? My mother used to call it a beer belly. If it's a beer belly, just the belly in the front, it usually means it's a liver issue. The liver is just congested and fatty. Now, the good news about the liver is this. It's the fastest healing organ in the body. So your body can heal. I can remove 70% of your liver. I can't. I'm not a surgeon. They can remove 70% of your liver, and it can grow back, and you can be perfectly fine. No, heart can't do that. Kidneys can't do that. Prostate can't do that. But the liver can. So the liver is so important. If you keep taking omega-6 fatty acids, you're just throwing this fat buildup in the liver. And that becomes a real serious issue. I believe the primary factor behind many diseases in our society relates to the high consumption of omega 6 fatty acids. The buildup of these fat tissues and platelets, that's part of the blood, are linked to coronary heart disease. Higher levels of omega 3 fatty acids inversely associated with coronary heart disease. So one of the supplements I take every single day is Dr. Joe's omega 3 fatty acids. Now you're thinking to yourself, Dr. Joe, I have a fish oil that I take, and that's my omega 3 fatty acid. Well, I don't like fish oil for a couple of reasons. Number one, you run the risk of mercury toxicity. When I was a kid, not a big issue. Now it is. My grandmother, my German grandmother, would give me cod liver oil pills. They were kept in the refrigerator. They were yellow. And I remember she'd give them to me every day, and I'd chew them. And it tastes a little oily. But she said, this is the most important thing you can do. The other thing she would do is talk about bowel function. If your bowels aren't moving at least once a day, preferably twice a day, she would say you need a physic. Now, I never heard that word in my professional career, but a physic is like a laxative that get the bowels moving. And as a child, she would talk about enemas. We got to give you an enema to clean out the colon because that's how you get healthy. You have to have a good functioning bowel, and you had to take these cod liver oil pills. That was my grandmother's wellness protocol. Looking back, she was right. Now, this is a woman who never graduated high school, who came from Germany in 1922 to get away from Hitler, didn't speak the language, arrived in New York, not speaking the language. Her brother was supposed to meet her at the docks, and he had the wrong date. And they put her back on the ship, the Bremen, to go back to Germany because the only way you could have somebody here in America, somebody had to meet you in America and sponsor you. And he got her just before the ship sailed and said, oh, no, I'm going to sponsor her. I'm her brother. So here's a woman, no formal education, but she knew that those omega-3 fatty acids were so important. She didn't know they were called omega-3 fatty acids, but they were so important for the body. And that genius of Nanny, we called her Nanny, has been lost. And I'm trying to revive that. You need those omega-3 fatty acids. It's good for brain function. It's good for anti-inflammatory function. It counteracts the omega-6 fatty acids. I take Dr. Joe's omega-3 every day. Fish oil goes rancid pretty quickly, and you run the risk of mercury, and it's not in what's called a phospholipid form. Phospholipid form is the form that we need. Krill oil, also a good source of omega-3s, and it's in the phospholipid form, very low risk of mercury toxicity. Krill oil, better choice. But here's the thing. Fish and krill don't make omega-3 fatty acids. They get it from eating algae. Algae is the purest form of omega-3 fatty acids. So why not eat the purest form? And that's what I take every day. I take algae omega-3 fatty acids. Now, the bottle says take 1 a day. I take 2 a day. It's one of my little dark secrets that I have that keeps my brain working as well as it does. Now, if you've heard my story before, I have a traumatic brain injury. I was hit by a car when I was 10, and I was dead. And obviously, I wasn't dead. They thought I was dead, and a severe trauma to the brain. I was in a coma for about 3 or 4 days, and that's what we call a severe traumatic brain injury. Traumatic brain injuries never go away. You have a traumatic brain injury. So even with the traumatic brain injury and playing football and getting in street fights and playing hockey, multiple concussions over my life, I have to protect my brain now at my age, and one of the secrets I have is omega-3 fatty acids. And it's well worth the cost. You think, well, it's a little expensive, Dr. Joe. No, I think being in a home at $15,000 a month is expensive. I don't think a couple of dollars for omega-3 fatty acids now is expensive. It's a really good investment. So anyway, they're on the website, drjoe.com. So Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide, unless you have low blood pressure. Vitamin D is vital. I'm not out in the sun like I should be. I take vitamin D every day. I take 5 drops a day. Omega-3 fatty acids I take every day. I take estrogen regulator because as a man, my testosterone is converting into estrogen faster and faster as I get older. And estrogen regulator, it's diindole methane, helps prevent testosterone from converting into estrogen. And that helps keep me young looking because people always think I'm 15 years younger than I am. I'm okay with that. So I've got my secrets. I'm happy to share them with you. And again, even with a traumatic brain injury, still doing okay. So these omega-6s, I digress. The ratio is so important. And if you don't have the right omega-3s, the linoleic acid, those omega-6s, they damage the body's ability to generate electricity by affecting the mitochondria. So many times, if you have a lot of omega-6 fatty acids, you're tired all the time. Another secret there. So depending on the organ, the mitochondria work better with different types of fatty acids. You got DHA, you got EPA, those are omega-3 fatty acids. So the higher amounts of linoleic acid than DHA and EPA, higher amounts of omega-6 versus omega-3s, they can damage the mitochondria, and that causes problems. Other things that can speed up the aging process and affect the brain is pain. If you're in pain, again, I'm board certified in pain management as well. If you're in pain, I don't know about you, but I get tired. I get grumpy. I don't want to do things. I don't want to take care of myself. So pain is a big issue. And the number one treatment for back pain, what do you think the most effective, least expensive treatment is for back pain? Most effective and least expensive, chiropractic care. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica, folks, come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. I would love to be your doctor. Let's check the nervous system, see if you have pinched nerves and unpinched them. Let's do a dietary workup. Let's see if you're digesting your food properly. And let's put together a protocol specifically for you. So if you'd like to make an appointment, go to my website, drjoe.com. Now, we can do this virtually. Can't do chiropractic care virtually. We can do nutrition and health coaching virtually. But if you can come see us in the Atlanta area, drjoe.com. Normally, the first visit is $940. For my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Why are you suffering with health problems when there might be an answer? I can't promise I have an answer for you, but there might be. And most patients say, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I wait so long? So drjoe.com, we can book you an appointment this week. Whenever you're listening to this, we always have appointments open every week at all our offices. So drjoe.com, make the appointment. We accept most insurances. When you call, we'll check your insurance for you. And if you're ever in a car accident, please, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. We're even on a referral list for the Veterans Administration, for the VA. If the VA doctor refers you to us, they pay for your treatment. And we're on a referral list. So if you're a veteran, I'd love to work with you. Please follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. Just look me up, all one word, Dr. Joe Esposito. And Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Most of them, we do little 1-minute segments every day. If you follow me on YouTube, you get the long versions as well. So you can do that. Sign up for our newsletter. It's on the website. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. You don't like it, unfollow me. I want to give you the information that you need to get well and stay well. And that's an ongoing process. Can't do it in one talk, one lecture, one podcast. So drjoe.com is the website. If you have any questions, send me your questions through the website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. All the supplements are there. If you have specific issues, send me. I'll give you my advice. Again, I always have a disclaimer. I'm not promising anything, but I want to get to the cause of your healthcare problems and not just treat the symptoms. And please, car accident folks, if somebody calls you and says, go see this doctor, go see this lawyer after an accident, it's a scam. I promise you it's a scam, and I can promise you're not going to get the care you need, and you're not going to get the legal representation you deserve. So drjoe.com, I want to be the captain of your healthcare ship. I want to drive you and say, listen, maybe you are a chiropractic patient. Maybe you're an orthopedic patient. Maybe you need a massage. Maybe you need a neurological workup. Maybe you need a gynecologist, a dentist. I don't know. Let me be the captain to drive you. I have trouble figuring out what I need to do in my life, and I do this every day. I can't imagine you, the public, trying to navigate this mess that we call healthcare. So drjoe.com. So we're talking today about ultra-processed food, the standard American diet, and how it affects brain function. Cognitive function. Cognition is your ability to drive your car, do a math problem, remember to brush your teeth, where you live. I mean, the brain functioning, executive decisions every single day. And a lot of studies show that ultra-processed foods increase your risk of metabolic syndrome. That's high blood pressure, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes. The basis of metabolic changes may reside in a negative effect of junk food, not only on not giving you enough nutrients and omega-6 fatty acids blocking up your cells, but it can also affect the bacteria in your colon, the microbiome. Changes in your microbiome are likely related to lack of fiber, junk food, high levels of refined sugar, and we know that the colon talks to the brain by way of something called the vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S. The vagus nerve sends impulses from the brain down to the gut, back up, back and forth. It's a big nerve. And we actually found some studies recently that show you may be Wi-Fi wired. because they've done tests on animals where they cut the vagus nerve and the bacteria in the brain and the gut are still able to talk to the brain. And as of now, unless some new studies came out, we don't know how that happens. So you're on Wi-Fi, and the gut is able to talk to the brain through the vagus nerve. And so if you have bad bacteria, waste products, toxins, it can travel up into the brain via the vagus nerve. If we have a healthy gut, the brain and the gut are able to talk to each other and actually support each other. So that's another reason why you want to make sure you have your body healthy. Now, there's a lot of mounting a response to infectious diseases, like coronavirus, of course, was a big one. Healthy gut microbiome has the potentiality to protect against viruses, germs, and bacteria as well. Maybe not 100%, but certainly keep you healthier. Folks, I got so much more to cover. I just don't have time. If you have any questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. I'm happy to answer them. Make an appointment to come see us. Stop suffering needlessly. Make that decision. Hopefully, it's going to change your life for the better. And in most cases, it does. I'm not promising anything. I'm not giving you any guarantees. But I want to get your nervous system working, your digestive system working, your diet straightened out, get the proper supplements in your body if necessary, Super Green Central Source, nitric oxide, omega-3s. All of those are on the website, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media at Dr. Joe, just Dr. Joe Esposito. Search me. And again, if you follow me on YouTube, you get the long version and the short version. The other ones, you just get 1-minute tips every single day. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. I hope to talk to you soon. I got too much more to cover. I don't have time. All right, John, what do you got?
What are the very best vitamins and minerals to increase athletic performance?
Super Green's an essential source, absolutely. Nitric oxide, assuming you don't have high blood pressure, if you have low blood pressure. If you have normal or high blood pressure, take nitric oxide. If you take it right before your event, you're going to notice a big increase in your performance. My friend Tim is a mountain biker. He's not looking for increased performance. He takes it afterwards, and he doesn't get sore because it increases circulation. B vitamins, absolutely necessary. You're burning up B vitamins like crazy if you're an athlete. So Super Green Essential Source, B vitamins, and nitric oxide would be my starter kit for athletics. And make sure you're eating enough fiber to get that bacteria in your colon working well, too. What else?
What are your thoughts on chicory root fiber?
It's good. Got no problem with it. Dig in. I used to love chicory as a kid. My grandfather made vinegar. Oh, I could taste it right now just thinking about it. Wine vinegar and extra virgin organic olive oil, garlic, and chicory. And my grandma would make a salad out of it. Oh, it was so good. Anyway, salivating. Next question.
How do you feel about the plant-based burger patties on the market?
The which ones? Plant-based? I'm not a big fan. We talked about that earlier in the show. There's still a definition of ultra-processed foods. If you have to do one, I would say Beyond Burger is better than Impossible, if you have to do one. Now, there are places that make their own. You can make your own. In my first book I wrote, Eating Right for the Health of It, I have a good recipe for a veggie burger. The best veggie burger I've ever had, and I have no association with this restaurant, is Houston's Steakhouse. Now, it's a steakhouse. They have the best veggie burger, as far as I'm concerned, in the world. I've checked multiple times. They all say they're vegan. The bread is not vegan, so if you're going to do a bread, tell them you're vegan, and I'll give you a bread that doesn't have eggs on it. Or eggs is what they do on it. But, yeah, if you're going to do a processed one. Now, there are some that are black bean burgers and things like that. Prager's is one. Much better choice. But the big ones right now are Impossible and Beyond. If you have to do one of those, Beyond, but Prager's would be a better choice. Now, Prager's doesn't taste like a burger. Beyond does, so that's the difference. What else you got?
What is your advice for someone with UTI?
UTI depends what's causing it. First of all, we got to check the nerves in the low back. The nerves in the low back control the colon, sex organs, and bladder. So I've had many cases of UTI and even interstitial cystitis, which is a really severe UTI. And in fact, people have even committed suicide from the pain. It's so bad because many times medicine fails that. There's an adjustment we can do. We can take it, we adjust the bladder outside the body. It's nothing weird, but we can adjust the bladder, adjust the nerve supply to the bladder, and many times that helps. If you're going to do cranberry juice, which works, you want to do pure organic cranberry juice. It's extremely bitter. It's not cocktail. It's not loaded with sugar. It's pure cranberry juice. You dilute it with water. You can add some stevia to it if you want, but there's a chemical in the cranberries that prevent the bacteria from sticking to the bladder and the urethra. But you got to fix the nerve supply to it, and you got to pull the bladder up. Cranberry juice works real well. And then you got to start thinking about what is it. Now, there's a condition. It's called honeymoon cystitis. No kidding. That's the name of it. And if you have maybe sometimes with a new partner, romantic partner, or multiple partners, you can get different bacteria introduced into your body, and that can create this what we call honeymoon cystitis. So you have to consider that as well. Is that part of the game? And if it is, then you have to work accordingly around that. So, but chiropractic care for the bladder and the back, the nerve supply, and then pure cranberry juice cut with water and stevia. And again, it's very bitter. It's got to be organic, and that may help too. So.
What did you eat for dinner last night and for breakfast this morning?
Last night I had, I was in my garden last night, so I had figs and tomatoes. So I made a salad of figs and tomatoes. I grew garlic, so I put garlic in it, and I didn't see any people last night at the radio station, so I had lots of garlic. I put some extra virgin organic olive oil on it, and that's what I had for dinner at about 4 o'clock. I intermittent fasted then until breakfast. Breakfast this morning was Super Greens and Essential Source, of course. I took my supplements. I had watermelon, another tomato, because all my tomatoes came in at once. Today, for lunch, we didn't ask me about lunch, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I had another tomato salad. And then I made a spaghetti sauce last night with the tomatoes. I made tomatoes and garlic, basil I took from my garden, rosemary from my office. I have rosemary growing. And I made like a tomato compote, and I had that as well. So big week for tomatoes and figs. So I picked figs this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm picking figs. So. What else?
That is all.
Awesome. You guys are great. Thank you so much. Please follow me on all the social media platforms, folks. We kind of got a big rush, and we got to get those numbers up again. Continue to grow them. I'm sorry. So Dr. Joe Esposito, please do it as a favor to me and YouTube as well. Of course, you get the long versions. Questions through the website. Make the appointments, and I will hopefully see you guys this week. If not, I'll talk to you next week. Thanks.